Greetings everyone. I wanted to do a follow-up video to the last one I did, which had to do with disappointments in other people and the need to put our final trust in God. I want to specifically comment on the matter of unrequited love. What is unrequited love? Unrequited love is non-reciprocal love. In other words, we give our hearts and our love to another person, and in the long run they never seem to return that love. In fact, sometimes they return it with spite, and oftentimes they simply ignore us and dismiss us and move on. This arguably is the most painful kind of experience and disappointment with other human beings. Of course, we see this in marriage and very close relationships. We give our hearts to another person and rightfully expecting certain things, and we feel as though they haven't given us what we deserve, certainly not what we want. Shakespeare said the course of true love never did run smoothly. He was right about that and many other things. This is, I think, again, arguably the most painful experience with other people. Perhaps the most painful experience a human being can experience. To give your heart, soul, and love to another person, to make a commitment to another person, only to find that that person is not committed as they said they were to you. What do you do about that? Good question. What we have to realize in the long run is that you can never make another person love you. You can never press them into a certain mold, and we shouldn't really try to. God has made us free agents in the sense that we are all given the capacity to choose the course of our lives. And though obviously biology plays its part in genetics, and they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, that's certainly true. At the same time, commingled with that is the reality of personal choice and individual pursuits. And we have to allow people to live their own life. And you say, well, but they've made a commitment, they've made promises. All right, that may be true, and yes, they should honor their promises. But we can't force them, again, to honor those promises as much as we want them to do so. Again, we can't make them love us. We can only love them. You and I are responsible under God for being the person He wants us to be a believer in Christ, to be a follower of God, to do His will on this earth, to be responsible, loving people. That's what we are called to do, and that's all I can do for myself. I can't do that for another person. Of course, you see all kinds of ramifications and applications with this. Let's just think in terms of our children. Again, I cannot, as my children grow old, I've got 3 children and 7 grandchildren. We can't, again, control our children along the path of life. Of course, when they're younger, we steer them and we train up a child in the way he should go, and we have the promise from the Proverbs that when they're old, they won't depart from that course. That's a general truism. That's not an ironclad guarantee. That's the thing about Proverbs. They are proverbs. They are wisdom sayings. They are general truisms. They're not ironclad promises and guarantees in life that if I do A and B, C will follow. I take these steps. So again, with my children, I try to love them. I try to rear them in the admonition and fear of the Lord. But they have to, again, choose their own path. And with friends, I cannot, again, control them as much as sometimes I think I could do a better job. I'm sure you do too sometimes. But I have to, again, allow them to be free and to live their lives and to make their own decisions. But let's talk again just for a second about that one person that you say you love. You can't make them love you. This is one of the hardest things to accept in life. You say, well, I've had enough. They won't love me. They won't take responsibility. They won't do this. I've told them over and over again about these areas that bother me, and they don't seem to care. They just seem to dismiss it. I think I'll leave them. Now, if you're married, shall I remind you that it's for better or for worse? For better or for worse, not for better and better, but for better or worse. And you and I have to keep our commitments as best as we are able to commit and follow through. We are to do our parts, and that's all we're called to do. And with the other person, we have to leave them in God's hands. Again, this is one of the hardest things we have to do, some of us. Now, some of us have had loving, deeply committed relationships and maybe have a hard time understanding what I'm talking about here. But I think all of us in some way can relate to the fact that people just do not respond to us as they should. What do we do again? We face reality. We don't try to control their lives. And we leave it all in the hands of God. He loves us. He loves you. He will never walk away from you. His love is real. It's permanent. It's continuous. In the letter of 1 John, in the end of the Bible, the 4th chapter, it says, God is love. The essence of his being is love. Just like that sun is on the right side of my face, so is his love. It beams down upon us all the time. Let him love you where the other person didn't love you. And pray about all things. And let him work things out and give you the strength you need for each new day. I realize sometimes in these videos I do my share of preaching, and I don't mean to be preachy, but there are some words there, I think, for you and for me. And if you like these videos, again, please hit like and feel free to repost these and pass them on. And again, I always welcome your comments. So peace to you and blessings.